Now the next presentation is from my side. So I will share my screen. Yes. So I will discuss about the assessment of polybrominated diphenyl ethers in the Kuwait environment. So I will have a brief introduction. Already we had discussed about this thing, like Dr. Roland and Sherin had given a very vast introduction about this compound. Polybrominated diphenyl ethers belongs to a class of chemicals that are added to certain manufactured products in order to reduce the chances that the products will catch on fire. These chemicals can get into the air through means these chemicals can get into the air, water, and soil during the manufacture. They can leak from products that contain them or escape when the products that contain them break down. I think somebody is not muted their mic. They do not dissolve easily in water. They stick to particles and settle it to the bottom of rivers or lakes. Some PBDs can build up in certain fish and mammals when they eat contaminated food or water. And how then the pupil can be exposed to PBDE. Sorry. The people can be exposed to PBDs by eating contaminated foods, especially those with high fat content, such as fatty fish. And another source of exposure results from breathing contaminated air or swallowing contaminated dust. Working in industries that make these chemicals or that make, repair, or recycle products containing these chemical flame retardants can result in exposure. And human health effects from PBDE at low environmental exposure are unknown. In animal studies, these chemicals have shown some effects on the thyroid and liver as well as on brain development. More research is needed to assess the human health effects of exposure to PBDE. There are three different formulations of commercially available PBDs, that is penta, octa, and deca form of PBDs. This penta form is added principally to polyurethane foam that are used in household furniture and also used in carpet, underlay, and on bedding. The deca product is used primarily in textiles and denser plastics such as housings for a range of electrical products, particularly TV sets. The Octa product, a mixture of different homologue, is used primarily in plastics. And the reason of the environmental and health risk, commercial penta-brominated diphenyl ether and commercial octa-brominated diphenyl ether technical mixture, their production was stopped in 2004. The total former production of this commercial mixture was approximately 100,000 tons each. And deca-brominated diphenyl ethers listed in 2017 is still being produced and used, and a range of specific exemptions have been granted, such as plastics in electrical and electronic equipments, certain vehicle parts, textiles, and insulation foams. And these are the some monitoring result. Actually, this is the result from the PBD were monitored in 70 homes in Kuwait. In all homes and offices investigated, PBDs were detected with a pattern similar to the distribution in the commercial penta-brominated diphenyl ether formulation. The ubiquitous distribution of these compounds in indoor environments in Kuwait may be due to the volatilization of these chemicals from foam, that is example foam padded furniture or mattresses, electronic equipment, example TVs, printers, computers, and other consumer products to which they are added as flame retardants. Then house dust act as a sink and repository for semi-volatile organic compounds. The analysis of compound in house dust therefore can give a reliable indication of the extent of indoor contamination. Non-dietary exposure to chemicals via inhalation and dust ingestion may therefore constitute an important exposure pathway for humans. Although estimates of dust ingestion vary widely, there is a consensus that children, especially those who crawl, ingest more dust than adults. And this is the non-dietary exposure occurs principally via inhalation and ingestion of dust. The reported mean concentration at Kuwait house dust sample was 148 nanogram per gram, and it estimates that children and adults are exposed to 14.8 and 1.5 nanogram per day respectively on a daily basis from dust ingestion. The tenfold difference in exposure estimates between children and adults in this study support previous report that children are at greater risk from pollutants that accumulate indoors. And the major PBDE used in electronic is commercial DECA BDE, which has been listed in 2017. Cathodic ray tubing casing, which were largely produced some years ago before the use of flat screen, partly contain commercial octa BDE, which has meanwhile been phased out. Freezers and refrigerators normally do not contain brominated flame retardants. And the import statistics from assess from 2010 to 2019 for television and computers, every year about 1 million of these devices were imported in average. In total, about 55,426 tons of televisions and computers containing 19,286 tons of plastics have been imported during these 10 years. These electrical and electronic equipments included an estimate of 55.4 tons of DECA BDE and 7.3 tons of PBDE listed in 2009. During the last 10 years, only very few cathodic ray tubes were imported, less than 100 tons, since cathodic ray tubes have been largely substituted by flat screen before 2010. Currently, most waste containing electrical and electronic equipments have been sent to landfills in Kuwait. And this is the some result. It is shown like homes and office. It's published by Java et al. And so 1 minute. Yes. Yeah. You can see that almost all the congeners have higher concentration in the office compared to the home. And you can see that in home, BDE 47 in home BDE 47 was the most abundant congener, representing on an average of 51% of total PBDE concentration. And the next most abundant congener was PBDE 99, and it represented about 28% of total PBDEs. Then the same like home, in the office also the same pattern has followed. The BDE 47 was the most abundant congener, representing on an average 42% of total PBDE concentration. And the next most one is BDE 99, represented about 30% of the total PBDE. Then the entry of PBDEs into the environment, that is a direct deposition from the atmosphere, runoff from the land, directly from industrial and wastewater treatment plant discharges. And this is the PBDEs, all the sediment samples. PBDE were detected in all sediment samples at a concentration ranging from 80 to 3,700 picogram per gram, and the dominant congener at all sites was PDE 183, which is typically constituting 60% of total PBDEs measured in this analysis, with a lesser quantities of BDE 153, that is 7 to 10%, and BDE 154, 15 to 20%. The average concentration of sum of PBDEs at the least contaminated site is at 10 times lower than the site with the maximum PBDE concentration. And entry of PBD into the wastewater treatment plant. This is the point source discharged by industry from the atmosphere, runoff from land following atmospheric deposition, household domestic wastewater and industrial effluents, addition at wastewater treatment works, likelihood of in situ formation from the treatment process. This is the monitoring of sludge samples. The congeners of specific and sum of polybrominated diphenyl ether concentration data for sludge samples collected from the 3 waste treatment plants over the 6 months steady period. The mean and range of this sum of polybrominated diphenyl ether concentration measured are follows. In the Jahara location, it was like 52.5 nanogram per gram mean concentration, and were in the range of 5.7 to 169.5 nanogram per gram. And in the Riga region, it was 144 nanogram per gram, and in the range of 32 to 296 nanogram per gram. And in the Hayman, it was 377 nanogram per gram, and in the range of 23 to 1599 nanogram per gram. And BDE 20 was the dominant, 209 was the dominant congener in all samples, contributing between 70% and 99% of the sum of PBDs, with lesser quantities of BDE 99, which contribute 6%, and 47, which contribute 3.3%, and 100 for 1%, with the BDE 28, 153, 154, and 183 congeners accounting for only 2% of the sum of these PBDs measured in most samples. And PBDs in the soil sample. PBDs and other semi-volatile organic compounds primarily enter soil via wet and dry atmospheric deposition. Another pathway through which these compounds penetrate soil is the application of sewage sludge to agricultural land. In Kuwait, sewage sludge from wastewater treatment plants are dumped in the desert, and this may constitute an important pathway for this compound to the terrestrial environment. Then monitoring of soil sample. Concentration of PBD in surface soil sample collected along a 140-kilometer transect across Kuwait to assess the role of urban centers as a source of persistent organic pollutants to the surrounding environment. The sum of polybrominated diphenyl ether concentration varied by a factor of 250 and ranged from 289 to 80,078 picogram per gram. The congener profile were dominated by BDE 209, accounting for 93% of the PBD in the soil samples. Since the predominant wind direction in the steady area is from the northwest, that is upwind, to the southeast, downwind across Kuwait city, the average concentration of PBDEs in soil samples collected downwind of Kuwait city were 1.5 times the average concentration collected upwind of the city. These findings lends support to the hypothesis that urban centers are sources of pollutants to surrounding areas. Then seasonal variation in the atmospheric concentration of polybrominated diphenyl ethers in Kuwait. Atmospheric concentration of PBD is concomitantly measured at an urban and a remote location over a 12-month period in Kuwait to examine seasonal variability and urban-rural concentration gradients. The annual mean and range of sigma PBD concentration was 32 and in the range of 3 to 208 picogram per meter cube at the remote site, and the annual mean of 57 and 0.3 to 445 range of picogram per meter cube at the urban site. The seasonal variation in the sum of PBDE concentration were not markedly different at the urban location. However, in the summer, sum of PBDE concentration at the remote location was significantly higher than winter median of sum of PBDE concentration. The major congeners detected in most samples analyzed were the congeners number 47, 99, and 100, which together constitute 85 and 90% of the sum of PBDs at the remote and urban site, respectively. Now, polybrominated diphenyl ether concentration in sediment from northern Arabian Gulf. Sufficient sediment samples were obtained from 25 locations within Kuwait Bay and outside the bay in the northwestern Arabian Gulf to access recent pollution in Kuwait. The mean and range in concentration of sum of 11 congeners of PBDEs in superficial sediment was 0.164 plus or minus 0.09, and in the range of 0.06 to 0.44 picogram per dry weight. And you can see that the concentration started to increase above the background in the mid of 1915. It started to increase sharply to a maximum in the late 1980s. Concentration decreased thereafter until another pulse in concentration was observed around the early 2000, followed by a decrease in the subsequent year. It is likely that the initial pulse in concentration recorded in sediment is related to the input from the Gulf War of 1991. Now the polybrominated diphenyl ether levels in dust collected from the cars in Kuwait. The presence of polybrominated diphenyl ethers in cars is linked to their use as flame retardants in electronic items and instrument panels, high impact plastic, foam, and fabric of car seats. PBD in dust sample collected from 19 randomly selected cars in normal use in Kuwait and to assess human non-dietary ingestion exposure to these compounds. The concentration of the total target 14 congeners, some of the 14 congeners of PBDs were ranged from 68 to 17,200 nanogram per gram. And BDE 209 was the dominant congener in all cars examined, with the concentration ranging from 52 to 16,100 nanogram per gram, which on an average accounted for 77% of the total PBDEs measured. Then a comparative study of PBDEs in the Kuwait Bay, a broader geographic study including offshore sediment sample and those in Kuwait Bay showed comparatively lower degree of PBDE contamination. The mean concentration ranged from 0.1 to 0.5 nanogram per gram and 0.02 to 0.35 nanogram per gram respectively. Globally, the recorded concentration of PBDEs for the marine ecosystem in Kuwait are small, with values sometimes below those documented for location in Northern Europe, Japan, and China. Then monitoring of PBDs in the landfill of Kuwait. Waste containing PBDs are largely disposed to the landfills in Kuwait. PBD were detected around all landfills at levels between 10 and 200 nanogram per gram, with Deca BDE as major congener. The levels are comparable to those at other landfill in industrial and developing countries. Also, major congeners of commercial Penta BDE, in particular BDE 47, was detected in all soil samples. And some of the result which are already we have communicated, so it will come soon, another result, and that's all. Thank you so much. Now the floor is open for the discussion. Dr. Muhammad.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Yasser. It's clear we have no inquiry regarding the points covered in your presentation. Mashallah, it's clear.
And I think maybe Dr. Roland can give a little more the clear picture. Like maybe if he want to say something, I think Dr. Roland can do this because he has our consultant for almost all the studies. And Dr. Roland.
Yeah, I mean what you see is that like in Europe and in most areas in China where you do not have specific recycling, the PBDE levels are relatively low because the octa BDE or the deca BDE, which is in the plastic, is not as volatile compared to the commercial penta BDE. And this commercial penta BDE with the PBDE 4799, which is in polyurethane foam, this is really easily to evaporate. Yeah, so this makes this difference, which I have shown in the human milk for the US compared to other regions, and where we see also in the US that there are some people which are 2 orders of magnitude higher contaminated. So this is not in the Middle East, let's say, the issue for the average people. Yeah, but like I said, what would be really interesting would be to look to this vintage cars. And in the Middle East, maybe there are vintage cars produced in the 70s and 80s and 90s from the United States. Because there I see a real interesting potential of exposure and potential exposure reduction. Let's say this is an area where I would think some research capacity could be put in, also to reduce the potential exposure.
And I feel, Dr. Roland, I think most of the Arab people, they have craze about to keep the vintage car in the maybe some for the usage or some other purpose. Yeah. I think that it will be a really important matter, I guess.
Yeah, and the other thing what I would maybe like to raise is, are there a regional activity about recycling of electronics? I have seen there is one company, I think in the Arabic Emirates, which is a larger recycling facility, which is also interested to do some recycling in other countries. I don't know if Hassan or the Oman team has looked into this topic, what if there is somebody in the region which is promoting this kind of e-waste recycling. I have seen this a few months ago, and if you are not aware, I can also one time check if I can find that company, because maybe that could also be a start to improve this recycling in Kuwait or in Oman, to maybe contact and see if they are interested to support other countries.
And Dr. Roland, I have a doubt. Recently, the Apple products, they have stopped their accessories. Is it related to this step?
What do you mean with who has stopped?
The Apple mobile products, they have for their recent products, they are not giving the chargers or headphones these items. I think they're told they need to make the more green revolution. This is their means explanation for this thing. So do you have do you have in your mind any connection between these waste products, something like that?
I mean, what I know is that the largest recycler of e-waste plastic in Europe, that's in Austria. And he is, for example, cooperating with Philips company, and the Philips company is using their separated e-waste plastic in new products. And I think that this is a real good way to go. I do not know the policy, let's say, of other companies, but also in Germany, I see that companies are pushing to use recycled plastic in, for example, cleaning agents. I mean, the bottles for cleaning agents and so on. We have one company which is using purely recycled material. So maybe it's interesting. I mean, to look if there are some companies in the Middle East region, if they are doing that, or even if there is nobody, maybe to think to look to maybe a company of Europe which is doing this, if there might be option for cooperation. Yeah, also to improve, let's say, the recycling rates in the Middle East.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
yes.
Doctor.
Regarding the electronic waste, actually, right now, Industrial Authority, they have allocated area for different recycle. One of these recycle is electronic waste. And there is some activity in Kuwait about exported all the electronic waste outside of Kuwait. They like Emirates. There is one in Kuwait. He's a young, not that old man. He started with the Emirates. He shipped after they take the laptops and sophisticated some instrument. He take the motherboard, the most important meters inside, and they package it and send it to Emirates. I don't know this company, but it's a good idea to help us for our next proposal to visit one of these company or many of the company, or we to see the technology. So I would like to ask you, Roland, if you have any of these company, just share it with us, especially which is working in Emirates. Thanks, my dear.
Okay.
Roland?
Yes?
Yeah, I think Dr. Hassan asked a question regarding do you have any information regarding like this recycling company in Emirates or somewhere like
No,
that?
like I said, I will look for it.
Yeah.
And then one is for the e-waste plastic. That's an Austrian company. This I can share. For the Emirates, I have to check which company it was, which I found. But I mean, when you look to Emirates, you see introduce e-waste rules. This was on 4th July. So it seems that in the Emirates, they are very active in this electronic waste recycling. Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah. So anyway, if I find the company, I will share it in the chat or later on. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.